All right, let's get right into it. What we're about to go through isn't just a set of ideas. I want you to think of this as, well, like a transmission, a decoded manual for fighting a force that I guarantee you felt, but you've probably never had a name for. We're breaking down the Seattled Codex and its game plan for defeating the fog of inertia. And this is the core principle of the whole thing. Just let that hang in the air for a second. There are entities who feed on stillness. This one sentence changes the entire game. It's not about them needing to beat you. It's just about them needing you to stop moving. So let's put a name to this enemy, the fog of inertia. The Codex makes it really clear this isn't some personal failing. It's not you being lazy. It's an active external force. And its only strategy, its only goal, is to create that stillness, to manufacture inertia, because that's what it eats.
And this is where it gets kind of spooky and really personal. I mean, how many times have you had this amazing idea, you feel that spark, and then this little voice just pops in your head, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Well, the Codex drops this bombshell. What if that thought isn't actually yours? What if it's a suggestion planted there for one reason, to slow you down?
So where does this fight happen? It takes place in this very specific space, the gap between your intent and your action. You know that moment between, I'm going to do this thing, and actually doing it? That gap? According to the Codex, that's the feeding ground. That's where the energy of all your unacted on potential gets consumed.
Okay, so if this is really happening, how would you even know? How do you spot an attack in progress? This next part is basically a field guide for recognizing when this force is actively working against you.
And what they feed on? Yeah, we all recognize these. Procrastination, obviously, that nagging doubt, the endless cycle of second-guessing, waiting for someone to tell you it's okay. Oh, and my favorite, I just need to research it a little more. These aren't just feelings. In this system, they're vulnerabilities. They're how the fog gets in. Their big win is you almost changing your life.
Think of this as like a diagnostic chart for your own experience. Have you ever been on fire with a new idea and then just get hit with this wave of crushing self-criticism out of nowhere? Or what about that weird sudden fatigue that washes over you the second you decide to start that big project? The Codex gives these things names, almost like technical readouts. A confidence siphon, T-wave interference. It's a way to take a vague, bad feeling and turn it into a specific threat you can actually identify.
And this is the whole point. This is the end game. Their one goal is to make your own brilliant ideas feel heavy, like a burden, not a gift. And why? It's simple physics. Light and inspiration, they move fast. But doubt thickens the air. It makes any kind of movement feel impossible.
Okay, that's a lot about the problem. Now, let's talk about the solution. The very first and most important weapon you have is momentum. This is where we stop playing defense and we start our own counterattack.
And really, it's this simple. The core principle of this whole defense is an equation. Momentum equals survival. If you're moving, they can't feed. Stillness is the vulnerability. So motion is your shield. And listen, creating this momentum isn't about some massive heroic effort. The Codex is super clear about this. Even the tiniest physical action creates what it calls a timeline shift. Look at these. Write one sentence, send one text. Literally just stand up. The second you take any action, no matter how small, you snap the connection. You break their grip. So once you get the power of those tiny movements, you can start to build a more permanent, resilient defense. And that's what the Codex calls the shield protocol. Think of it as a daily practice to make yourself a much, much harder target. At the heart of this protocol is a technique with a really cool name, the breath of ignition. Now, it gets technical here, talking about collapsing parasitic access points in the alpha frequency band. What does that actually mean? Basically, you're retuning your own energy frequency, making it an environment where these forces of inertia just can't survive. And here's how you actually do it. It's a simple 11-second cycle you can do anywhere. You just breathe in slowly for 4 seconds, hold that breath for 2 seconds, breathe out nice and controlled for 4 seconds, and then just 1 second of total stillness. And you do that 9 times. That's the whole thing.
And the final piece of the protocol is to lock it all in with a mental command. After you do the breathing, you say this to yourself, internally. My forward motion is protected. My presence cannot be delayed. You're not just wishing for it to be true, you are programming your reality. Now, this is such a critical reframe. If you've ever felt this kind of resistance, this pushback when you try to do something great, the Codex says, good, that's great news. It means you're visible. It means your ambition just shot up a flare in their sky, and they noticed. That resistance isn't a sign you should stop. It's confirmation that what you're doing matters. So this brings us to the final tool in the Codex. And this one isn't just for defense. This is for offense. This is for actively pulling yourself into the future. It's a concept called the Seattled Sigil, and the Codex is adamant that you should see it as a piece of technology.
Yeah, it's described as counter-inertia circuitry. It's not just art. Every single part has a job. That horizontal line, that's a tool for literally cutting through resistance. The word seated, that's an anchor to your most powerful self. And the design itself acts as a vector, an arrow, pulling you toward the future you want. The activation sequence couldn't be simpler. Activate, anchor, move. The whole idea is to get into a state the Codex calls T-wave outrunning. You're essentially letting your future self pull you forward so fast that inertia can't even get a foothold. And this is definitely not the end. The Codex is presented as an ongoing transmission. The next page, page 10, teases what's coming. Temporal armor, optical perception upgrades, how to block people who leech your energy, and something called sigil combustion. I mean, wow, the training is clearly just getting started.
So after laying all this out, the predators, the shields, the attacks, the sigils, the Codex leaves you with this one final thought. This challenge. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, this is the point where the game stops being a metaphor. And that's where it ends, not with a see you next time, but with an active command, a choice. It hands you the key and asks if you're going to turn it. The decision to keep going, well, that's entirely up to you.